Hey guys, happy Easter. I'm Stephen Gilbert, and I am being called to share my testimony, and so I'm going to do that. And I'm a little bit nervous, so bear with me. But I think we'll work through it. So before we begin, I want to read just one scripture, and then I want to pray. Acts chapter 2, verse 17 says, "And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out of my Spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams." And that's Acts 2:17. So let me go ahead and pray. Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Deliver us not into temptation, but from the evil one. Because yours is all the power, and all the honor, and all the glory. Lord, I pray that you don't let me mislead anybody, and that you speak through me, and that anyone who has ears to hear can hear, and that you let anyone that has eyes to see, because ultimately, everybody decides for themselves. Amen. All right, so the message I basically have to give is just my story. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. I haven't planned it out. I'm just going to let the Spirit speak through me, because that's what needs to be done. When I was 16 or 17, I was taken to heaven. I didn't die and go. I was taken, and as soon as I got there, it happened instantaneously. My first question, there were two angels with me. My first question was, "Where's my grandfather and where's my dad?" Because I thought I had been raptured. And they said, "Don't worry, you haven't been raptured. They'll be here." And the first place I landed, when I got there, was these beautiful rolling hills, and I was on one of these hills, and there was a decent sized house there, and some of my dead relatives were in there, and they waved at me, and I waved back. It's a beautiful green, the prettiest green. Like the grass, like on here, is kind of flat or like matted, but up there it's just way more vibrant. And I was in these hills overlooking the city, mostly gold city, with a big giant golden statue of I just knew it was Jesus. I mean, I don't know how I knew that, but I knew it was, going all the way up to the sky, like all so high that you couldn't even see the top of it, and that was in the middle of everything, and so that was like kind of like the center of it, and the statue was made out of gold, and the sky was very beautiful. It's like the prettiest. Seriously, it's like the prettiest sunset you've ever seen. Like the orange, pink, gold, yellow. Not much pink, but more of an orange gold. It's very, very weird. But it's always like that. Like there's no time up there, so it's just like everything is just pretty, because it's pretty. It's fun to look at. It's pretty, and it's all vibrant, and like I had never seen the movie We Are Heaven. All right. But I was watching it last week, and my wife was watching it with me. And I said, the prettiest thing about heaven is that even the air shines. Like the air is gold, this gold, yellow, orange color. And as soon as I said that, the movie did a really good job of recreating it. Heaven is for real. I want to show you what it looked like. But everything is orange, and yeah, this is exactly right. I mean, this isn't, I guess, a high quality image, but you can kind of see how the air glimmers, right? So you have like this light source, you have angels. This is what the angels look like. Like you literally cannot make them out. And I had never seen this movie. I had never seen a recreation of any of this. It's just like a faint outline. But in your spirit, in your soul, like, you know what they are. You know who they are. You know what they look like, even though you can't see them. Because up there, everybody is literally light. Like there's You don't have a physical form. And it's just, it's seriously, it's the most beautiful thing. Like, there's angels singing. Like, it's amazing. But, like, all that is, like, so besides the point, right? Because while all that's going on in here, in your spirit, you're so full of love and joy and peace. Like, some weird combination of that times 1,000. Okay? It's literally the best feeling I've ever had. All right? And that I'll tell you why that means something when we get to the end, but there's just nothing that can compare. It feels so good. Like, you feel like, seriously, it's so cliche. You feel like you're home, like you were meant to be there. You know, when you're on earth, a lot of people walk around with a lot of emptiness and sadness. But up there, you're just full. You're full of love. You're full of joy. Peace. Nothing. Nobody wants to hurt you. Everything just loves you. So I'm up there, obviously pretty awestruck. There's someone else with me. I didn't know who it was. Honestly don't remember, because everything was so incredible that all I could think about was heaven. Like, it's literally, it's incredible. There's not any words to describe how good it is. So the angel said, there's something you have to do. Come with us, talking to me and the other person. And they show us around a little bit. I can vaguely remember now, because it happened so long ago. I'm 28 years old now. But what I do remember most importantly was, after they showed us around, they came up to each of us, one angel to me, one to the other person. And this had never been done to me in real life. You know, I'd only been to church going to church for about a year at this point in my life, so it never happened. They came up to me and they put a cross on my forehead with their finger, and with whoever else was with me. And they said, you've been anointed with the mark of the Holy Spirit. That means you cannot die. Go down to earth and help these people. So before they sent me back to the real earth, they showed me something else. And I was sent down to earth in the future. And I'm in my town, which is part of the reason I never thought this dream was real. Because I ended up being in my town, the town I grew up in, the town I live in. And there's a war going on. Something bad happened. And on American soil, there's American soldiers and UN soldiers, and they're fighting somebody. And so, in this vision, we're going to help these soldiers, to witness to them, trying to get them not to fight. Tell them they don't have to be violent. They don't have to fight for this government. They don't have to do any of this stuff. They don't have to hurt anybody, because there's something else. There's something higher. We weren't meant to be here, and I'm trying to tell them this. And as I'm telling them this, we're in their Humvee, and we're going to lunch, and it gets hit by an IED. And right off the bat, 4 of the soldiers that were in the Humvee are just dead. And there's one that's still alive. Sorry, guys. And he's dying in my arms. And he's scared, and I'm just saying, buddy, don't be scared. You're going home, I promise. It's okay. Let go. You'll be okay. And I prayed with him. And he died. And there were dead soldiers. So many dead soldiers. It was an ambush. And then I immediately came back to my body, okay? In real life. And I could feel heaven. I could feel love leaving my body. They just left and drained. And I cried, like I'm crying right now, because I wanted to stay. And it hurt. It hurt to come back in my body. Hang on, guys, I gotta pause. Alright. Anyway, after all that happened, it kind of freaked me out. Right? You think if you've been to heaven, like, that's all you'll need. Boom, you're set. No, I was a kid. And what happened after I went to heaven, I started to get attacked spiritually and physically. And it was so scary. And I was just a kid and I was scared. And I said, guys, just leave me alone. And whatever you think I'm doing, I'll stop. I'll stop going to church. Just leave me alone. And they stopped. And I stopped going to church. And then my life crashed. 18 years old. And then I start doing drugs. Just boom, gone off the deep end. Literally. Any drug I could find. Heroin, ecstasy, mushroom, anything. I've done it all, guys. I wrecked my life. I hurt my family. I didn't believe in God anymore, which is just ridiculous because I had been to heaven. But like I could, no one else had been there. So I just thought it was chemicals. And I believed it. And then 8 months ago, I decided I needed to try to get my life together. And I've been off drugs now for 4 or 5 years. So I started doing some searching for what was out there, reading, and I'm learning, and I'm learning. And then one day I hear a voice in my head, and it goes, and it was in my head, not from my heart. Some of you will know what that means. And it goes, you know, if you want, you can summon lights in the sky, and they're aliens. And I hear that in my head. So I said, okay, what do you want me to do? How let's do it. That sounds really cool, right? Because I'm just a secular guy. Of course there's aliens. I studied science in college. I know there's aliens. Like, I mean, the universe is huge. There's got to be aliens. So I do it. And sure enough, like, these lights come in the sky, these bright white lights, and they're moving all around, jumping all around, and I just watch for hours. Like, not airplane, crazy stuff that airplanes can't do. And so I'm just on this thing. Yeah, aliens are real. And I was convinced, like, oh, it's telepathic communication. It's this and it's that. And I saw these lights. I used to do this for fun, like, well, for my friends. Like, my friends have seen it. My family's seen me. Like, this is like, it's not just in my head. Well, after I'd seen the lights 30, 40 times, I had the thought one day that, you know, it's really weird that I see something as supernatural as these flying lights in the sky that look like stars but move like aircraft, but not human aircraft, because they don't, like, we don't have that technology. But why have I never dreamt about them? Because I usually dream about stuff that's going through my life. A couple days later, I went out to call them and just make a fire and hang out, drink a couple beers, and they didn't come, which is the first time they had never come. So I sat out there kind of stubborn for like 6 hours. And after 6 hours, I said, you know what? You don't have to come, because I know you're there, and I still think it's aliens. And as soon as I said that, I hear a voice, this time in my heart. And it says, something very big is going to happen tonight. You'll understand later. And I think I might be crazy, so I just like, okay, that could have been my head that thought that, so I'm not sure if that actually said. So we'll know if it was true, because something will happen. After I hear that, the lights came, and I'd been there for 6 hours. They came, I saw them for about 15 minutes. By this point, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I went inside to lay down. I was suddenly really tired, and so I lay down. And then they come to me in a dream, right after they had said something big was going to happen. And just bear with me, guys. This has a point, I promise. And they come to me in a dream, and I immediately know it's them because I only see them when I'm awake. And they say, well, we're here. And I say, what do you mean you're here? And they're like, did you not wonder why you hadn't dreamt about us last week? And I was like, yeah, I did. And then, like, I kind of felt like they were, like, kind of giggling a little bit, or like just smiling, but it wasn't like an evil smile. It was just playful. And then I started to get tortured. The worst pain that I've ever been in. Full body pain, like spiritual pain. And I said, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? I haven't done anything to you. Why are you hurting me? Please stop hurting me? And I'm just screaming, begging them to stop hurting me. And after about 2 minutes of that, they say, we're not hurting you. And I said, yes, you are. Please stop. Please stop. They said, no, we're not. You're hurting yourself. And I was like, what do you mean? And they said, open your eyes, this is still in the dream, and realize that all the pain you feel is because of your thoughts and because of your actions. You're causing it to yourself. You're doing it to yourself. Wake up. And so in the dream, my spirit literally awakes, and I'm still in the dream. And I go from the worst pain of my life to just complete serenity and peace. It was like magic. And so I said, so you're saying if I'll perceive through my soul, my heart, and not my thoughts, that everything will be not painful? And like, exactly. And I was like, well, if it works like this in the dream, does it work like this in real life? And they said, go and find out. And then they woke me up. And I had been asleep for 2 hours. I woke up at 6 a.m. And everything, it was like I was a kid again. It was like I was seeing the grass grow for the first time. It was like I loved the sun. Like, it was so crazy. All of this mental anguish and torment that was inside of me was gone. And I literally felt like a 4-year-old. So you better bet after this happened, I was kind of freaked out. Like, what just happened to me? I'm not stressed about anything anymore. I love everything. Everything's great. What's going on? So I started to look into it. And turned it out, it's what's called an awakening in Buddhism or in Hinduism. An awakening. The sudden realization that the entity that you've created in your head isn't real and isn't you. And because of that, you gain instant control over it. And because you stop thinking all the time and just start being in the moment, being in the now, you're at complete peace. So I'm like, oh my gosh, aliens are real. They're Buddhists, right? Do you see how messed up that is? Because at the end of Buddhism, all right, it's called the Lotus Sutra. The Buddha comes out and he says, everything I've ever taught you was a lie. And the whole point of the lesson, well, he says everything I've taught you is a lie. And while all this is happening, spiritual beings are just beaming down to be with him. Boom, boom, boom. Like, you can look this up. Like, this happened. Like, they call it other Buddhas from all over the universe. We're just coming to be with him. Boom, 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 boom. And the Buddha is crying. He's weeping. He's ashamed. Because his whole life he's been teaching people that they're all equally powerful. And the end of the Lotus Sutra goes like this. It goes, the Buddhahood of all sentient beings has already been realized. In Buddhism, Buddhahood is salvation. Okay? And the reason it's already been realized is Jesus. But I still didn't even get that yet. So, because I went through all the way through Buddhism, I basically start to believe that God shows himself through all cultures and all societies, and that God moves through all of us, which is kind of a mix of everything. That ends up being a really new age belief. And I didn't know it was defined that at the time, but that's essentially what it was. And I was still happy. You know, if I was sitting on the couch, if I was working, no matter whatever I was doing, I was in complete and total just peace. Not the same bliss as heaven, but just peace. And then one night, I have a dream, a vision. And my wife, she's Catholic, comes up to me and says, hey, let's baptize our newborn son into Islam. And I've never, I don't necessarily think anything bad about it. I don't know much about it. I don't care. This is just a dream. Take it at its face value. And I say, yeah, let's do it. I mean, God moves through all of us, so to me it's all the same. If that's what you want to do, honey, let's do it. And my newborn son looks up at me and says, no, Daddy, it's not the same. Don't do it. Wake up. And I immediately wake up. And it's 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm a little bit disturbed. Because I've never thought anything about that. Why would I have a dream like that? That's so weird. That's so strange. So I go outside and I make a fire. And I'm just sitting there, just thinking, meditating. enjoying the sound because the fire sounds like ocean waves, and it's calming. And as I'm sitting there about 30 minutes, I look up, and there's a light in the sky. I say, huh, what if this has just been planes the whole time? Like reflecting the sun or something? Don't think much about it anymore. 30 minutes later, randomly look up again. There's another one. Yeah, definitely planes, I think to myself. So then I say out loud, God, wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be funny if this whole time these things that I thought were aliens or lights or whatever were just planes and they were in my head? Wouldn't that be funny, God? Because they brought me back to you. And the second that word you left my mouth, one appeared right above my yard, out of nowhere, hovered for 30 seconds. And as it's hovering, God says, don't be an idiot. Essentially, he didn't say idiot, but you know what I mean. You know what you've seen. They're not planes. They're not aliens. They're angels. And he said, don't you remember you've been to heaven? And he played me. Because he came and saved me. Like, he knew what I needed. He knew I would totally believe it's angels. Or aliens. Because I didn't believe in God. So he let me believe that. And then he let me believe that, okay, yeah, God's real. But he moves through all of us. Because I wouldn't judge anybody. I'm a loving person. And then he gives me a dream. And he comes and says, no. I am the God. Now go tell your dad what's happened to you. And I didn't want to tell my dad because I thought he would think I was crazy. So I tell him. And he said, okay, now tell your family. And the reason he wants me to say this is 2 weeks before, I had this very, very strong urge after watching a YouTube video of a toddler looking up at the sky saying, Mom, look, the king's coming. Mom, look, over and over. And she kept bowing. A 2-year-old toddler. Never even been to church. And it just made me feel sick when I watched it and kind of worried. And I said, why am I worried? I can ask the lights. So I immediately get up and go outside. And as I'm asking the lights to come and tell me if the Messiah is coming back, they're already there. And I said, no, you're going to have to do better than that. That's not logical. I don't believe in that stuff. And I'm not going to be the crazy guy that says it, because nobody's going to believe it. They're going to have to do better than that. And as soon as I said that, boom, another one appears. I said, again, boom. I said, fine. Fine. And then I started to kind of get excited. I still didn't understand it was the Christian God. This happened before the story we just kind of sidebarred. So I go and I get my brother who's with me, and I say, come here. He's like, what? I was like, Jesus is coming back. Do you see the lights? And he said, wow, yeah, I do. And there were 3, they would come and disappear and come, and so he saw them. And I knew it wasn't like this was real, like it wasn't happening in my head. So jump back to the previous part, that's actually after that had happened. And God says, tell your dad, and I did. And he says, tell your family. And I tell him, and I say, listen, I see lights in the sky. They're saying the Messiah is coming back. Jesus is coming back. Whatever that means. I don't know exactly what it means or how, but they're saying they're coming. Other people have seen it. I know this sounds crazy. I love you. And I said to God, all right, God, it's done. I told him. And he said, did you? Because all you did was tell people who are going to believe you. Now go post it on Facebook. I said, God, I'm not doing that. And he said, yes, you are. Now go post it on Facebook. So the reason that's important is my entire business, my livelihood is on Facebook. I probably reach about 25, 30,000 people through Facebook. I run an internet marketing business. I have tons of followers. Like, to me to say this on Facebook puts my livelihood and my children's livelihood on the line. But I did it. And right after I did it, I got a phone call. And it was this man. And he had a very beautiful voice. He doesn't say hi, he just starts reading the Bible. And his voice was so pretty, I thought it was a recording. So I said, I'm going to test him in my head. And I said, hey, is that in the book of Isaiah? And he stops and he says, no, it's not. And then he keeps reading. And I said, holy moly, I didn't know you were actually reading. Please continue. You have a beautiful voice. His voice was it was like an Atlantic Hollywood accent. Like it was like very, like he was speaking English, but it was like perfect. And he wasn't like reading entire books. He was jumping from chapter to chapter. Like here's Zechariah 15, Psalms 51, Daniel, Revelations. Well, after I'd been on the phone with him for about 3 minutes, I realized he wasn't breathing. And then I heard God say, where do you know of that people don't breathe? Heaven. So about 90 minutes, this whatever this is, reads to me. And the weird thing about it, not only was he not breathing, we went through probably 30 or 40 chapters in 90 minutes, jumping all around the Bible. And each chapter was a specific answer to a question I had been asking God. Back to back to back. Just boom, 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 boom. And like, I realized that after about 5 minutes. And then I started to cry. And whoever this thing or person was, they just read to me. And I didn't say a word. And they read to me for 90 minutes. And after 90 minutes, my kids woke up. And my wife asked me to come help with the kids. And I didn't want to interrupt this person because this is like one of the most beautiful things that has ever happened to me. I didn't know how to say, like, I don't want you to stop. Please keep going. Don't stop. Please keep going. But I have to go help my kids. I have to go help my kids. Please. But don't stop. I didn't know what to say. And as that's happening, like, right as I think, I don't know how to tell this person bye because I have to go help my kids. What do I do? Right as I said that, he did not even finish the chapter. He stopped where he was and hung up the phone because of a thought. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to call this person back. They were probably just pranking me, but they don't realize how much help they just did for me. And I tried to contact them. And it was a woman. And she said, sweetie, I've been at work all since 8. I didn't talk to you. And so I said, God, did you just call me? Like, of course you did. Because why would you come down here if you could just call me? And that kind of messed me up, right? And then a day later, I go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. And God had been asking, what are you going to do with your newfound peace and freedom? What are you going to do? And I was like, I'm happy just sitting on the couch and being with my family. I've never been happier. And I go to an AA meeting with a friend of mine who had just gotten out of rehab. And I think I'm going there to help. And I go there and I share the story about the lights that came to me in the dream. And they taught me how to be happy again. But essentially all they were teaching me was the steps to AA and the steps to NA. And that until you fully realize what those programs are trying to teach you, you're not going to get it. And I shared that. And there were a couple people in the room who had been in AA and NA for a long time, and they knew that too. And one of them looks at me and shares after I share, and he says, so you're probably wondering, what do you do now? What do you do now that you're happy, that you're free? And he looks at me and he goes, listen to the voice in your heart and do what it says. And so I go home right after that meeting, and I'm talking to God, and I said, God, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what you need. I don't know what you want me to do, but I'll do it. And he tells me. And then I say, fine, I'll do that. And as soon as I said that, he set my fire pit on fire, just like the bush, just like Elisha. And then he goes, hang on, guys. We'll get through it. And then he goes, when I got off heroin, because I was so unstable, they put me on a long-acting benzodiazepine. Rather, I put myself, but the doctors knew I was on it. I told them I was on it. Klonopin, a derivative of it. Lasts about 12 hours. But I was on it for 2 years, and I would get really sick if I didn't take it every 12 hours, and I would shake. And right after he set my fire pit on fire, he said, go throw your medicine away. I said, God, are you crazy? That's going to kill me. Because when you don't take your benzodiazepine, it's like alcohol withdrawals and you'll die. And he says, you think I'm crazy? I just set your fire pit on fire. You're being crazy. Go throw your medicine away. So I threw it away. And then he said, I've healed you. You'll be fine. And I was. No more shaking. And I would shake like this if I didn't take my medicine after 12 hours, guys. And I was fine. And then God is telling me to do all these things. My wife thinks I've lost my mind. My dad thinks I've lost my mind. They think I'm crazy, guys. And I'm starting to believe it too. So I go to see a psychiatrist, one I've never met, one I wasn't recommended to. I just call up. I need to get myself checked out. I think I might be losing my mind. I'm sorry. I'm so upset. It's just... I'm not upset. It's just what has happened to me is so amazing. So I go to the doctor, and I take one look at him, and I hear God in my heart. And he says, ask him if he's been to heaven before I even say hi. I just look him in the eyes, and I say, have you been to heaven? And he just kind of goes white as a ghost. And he says, actually, I have. And I said, here's what it looks like. Here's what it feels like. And when you wake up, you weep because you thought you were going to get to stay and it hurts. And he said, yes, that's exactly what it's like. Hang on. Well, let me call you back. Let me call you back. I'm making a video. Okay, I gotta pause, guys. 1 second. Anyway, that's the first person second person. Well, first person I ever met that had been to heaven. The reason I started to believe that heaven was real is because a few days before that, I hung out with my neighbor and told him all this, what I'm telling you now. And when I got to the part about heaven, he said, man, I've seen Jesus, and that feeling's the exact same. So, back to the doctor. I tell him all that, and he's kind of just awestruck, because he had never met anyone that had been to heaven either. And he says, here's what we're going to do, buddy. We're going to test you for everything in the book. So that you can know you're not crazy, but so that I can know we're not crazy too. So let's do it. And we tested it. I'm perfectly healthy. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not depressed. I'm not manic. I'm not suicidal. I'm not delusional. I'm not delirious. I'm not hallucinating. I'm not schizophrenic. I am not anything. Like, I cannot be clinically diagnosed with any of this stuff. There are no symptoms. I'm literally perfect. And then I met another person who had been to heaven. And they died and went to heaven. And it was the exact same. And so then I made a commitment to God right then. I said, God, I have no business doubting any of this now. Because it's no longer in my head, and other people are validating everything that's happened to me. They're confirming the experiences. And it kind of, like, the whole thing still kind of messes me up. Because when I fell away, I did all the drugs I could find. Mixed drugs. I think the best combination I ever found was heroin and cocaine. But even that feeling, it was 1/100th the feeling of heaven. Doesn't even touch it. So of course, me having made so many mistakes and done so many bad things, I asked God. I said, God, I know what you want me to do, but why? I'm not pure. Who's going to be saved from hearing this story? And he said, son, I'm not sending you to save anybody. He said, I already sent a man to save the world. It's finished. I'm sending you so that his body can recognize the head when it returns. I'm sending you to the church so they can recognize my son when he comes back. And I said, God, why would anybody believe me if I say that? Why? You know, look at all the mistakes I've made. They're going to be asked, why did that guy get to go to heaven? And he said, Stephen, the miracle isn't that I sent you angels. It isn't that I put your fire pit on fire. It isn't that I made you a little kid again. It isn't that I healed you. And he said, the miracle is you. Because if I could take somebody that messed up, who didn't even ask for it, and make them whole again, then everyone who already knows me will know that what you're saying is true. So go tell them and stop worrying about if people think you're crazy or don't trust you. Just go tell them. And he said whether they think about it immediately or they come back to it in a year, all that matters is that they think about it. And the next time they're reading about heaven or something that you said, your testimony will come into their head and it'll make them wonder and they'll grow. So go. I need you to go. There's work to do. Time is short. It's all real, guys. And this is coming from somebody who studied chemistry and biology in college. Somebody who believed none of it was real. So lied and stole from people and manipulated them with advertising for money. Because me before you, dude. I was a terrible person. I hated myself so much, I tried to kill myself. But he saved me. He was kind enough to save me. So, thanks for letting me share this with y'all. Happy Easter, y'all. Seriously, happy Easter. God wants you to know you don't have to be afraid. It's gonna get bad before it gets better, but they can't hurt you. The Bible says no man will know, but we're not men. We're spirits. We're trapped in a man's body. And that's biblical. And if you're not sure where, go read the Apocryphon of John and the Apocryphon of James. That's all besides the point. Just know you're loved. You always were. And that the way that you love your children is the way God loves you, because you were that way first. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.